Hello everybody and welcome back to Red Eagle Politics. Make sure you guys like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. I hope everybody's having a great Sunday, and Donald Trump himself is having a great Sunday, and the Democrats over at CNN not so much, because in the latest poll out of CNN, the same pollster that had Donald Trump losing to Joe Biden by 16 points in October of 2020 has Donald Trump up by 6 percentage points in the head-to-head over Joe Biden. He's nearly cracking 50%. And in the multi-party candidate race where you throw in everybody else, he leads Joe Biden by 9 points. This is not Rasmussen. This is CNN. And this is absolutely huge, because you just talk about the fact that Joe Biden, he's been campaigning. He's on the campaign trail. You know, Donald Trump is on trial. This entire poll seems to have been conducted while Donald Trump has been on trial. It was conducted from the 18th to the 23rd. That is within the window. And Donald Trump still leads by 6 percentage points. That's up from their latest poll in January, when it was Trump by, I think, 4. The other poll showed Trump by 4. Now they show Trump by 6, and Biden still has not led in RCP going all the way back to early September of 2023. And this is the popular vote. You want to look at 2016 and 2020? Find me the amount of polls in 2020, the entire cycle, that had Trump leading. It was like maybe 2 or 3 of them out of the hundreds that were released. And in 2016, Trump led the aggregate over Hillary for like a combined 5 days or so. And he was never like above 45%. Now he's at 46% in the aggregate. We have 6 months to go. That's all we have. We have 6 months remaining before this election. A little bit more than that. We have about 4.5 months before early voting starts. Now Biden's committed to a debate, and it's going to be difficult for him to back out of it right now. Even if he tries to use an excuse, it's not going to work out in his favor. It's not. He can't hide in the basement. There's no COVID this time, and Donald Trump has never been in a better position of his political career to date. He hasn't. And this is something that is absolutely astounding. And you look at this as well, the economy, and this is another poll, but these swing states, it shows that people thought things were better under Donald Trump's watch. They do. And you look at the swing states in the Rust Belt that are very economically centric, and they tend to oppose open borders like we have right now, and it shows that over 60%, including some people who are not even voting for Trump, said that the Trump economy was good under Trump and it's not good right now. And the metrics are actually getting worse from this point last year. Biden's approval rating on the topic is getting worse. I mean, there's just no direction you can really take if you're the Biden campaign. Because even though he's been trying to make it all about abortion, all about Trump bad, Trump this, Trump that, and apparently last night at the joke of a correspondence dinner, he talked about how, his opponent's a 6-year-old. Oh, haha, that's really going to diffuse the age situation by reading something off of a note card that was prepared by some intern. And you look at Joe Biden, that's all he really takes his directives from. He doesn't have a thought of his own politically. You saw it when he went up there and told Iran, don't, in a very, lethargic sense of the term. And obviously they don't respect him, so they're going to do whatever they want to do, and they're getting money from Biden, but that's beside the point. You look at Biden on the economy, it's even worse for him than his regular approval rating, and he's down there at 39.5%. That's not where you want to be. You had a sluggish economy in 2012, but Obama, on the issue of the economy, his approval rating was in the mid to high 40s, and right now his approval rating on the topic is 39.5, including the outlier Marist poll, and in the CNN poll, he's down by 28. I mean, the undecided voters and independents, those are the people who consistently disapprove of him on the topic, which is not a good sign for him. And those people care a lot more about the economy, immigration, and maybe to a certain extent foreign policy than they care about abortion, which is a state's issue. And Trump's position on the topic is relatively in line with a lot of independent voters. Even if they disagreed with the Dobbs v. Jackson decision, it's not a big issue for them compared to it in terms of these special elections or state elections like we saw in 2022, 2023, etc. And that's something that Biden is going to struggle to milk. And the polling data backs it up. He's not going up. He's, in fact, going down. CNN is coping, and they are coping indeed. And looking at this, 55% of people in this country say that Donald Trump's presidency is a success or was a success. 44% say it's a failure. And you look at this, 39% have said Biden's presidency is a success. 61% say it's a failure. And that shows that people are viewing the Trump presidency a lot better now after Trump's left office and after they've witnessed Biden than they viewed it while it was going on. And the media is really struggling to spin it. We've seen polling data that shows the trust in the media is lower even now than it was in 2016 when it last hit its low point. And it's not a good look for Biden. He doesn't have this woke energy that could unite his old coalition behind him. It just is non-existent. And when you look at it, a lot of people will say, well, what about COVID? But the truth is, a lot of Americans don't really care about it anymore. And Trump was disapproved of on COVID because people called him careless because he wouldn't lock down enough compared to some other countries. But now those skeptics kind of have been vindicated about the science of the whole thing, to where if you talk about COVID, people think more of like lockdowns and associate them with Democrats or vaccine mandates or things like that. And it's not a big issue. Most people don't care about it, but that's kind of the point. You know, it didn't hurt Democrats in 2022 because it was in the rearview mirror. Abortion was more front and center as an issue at the state level. And on top of that, Donald Trump is somebody whose presidency, when people think about it, they're not thinking about quarantine. They're not thinking about that. They're thinking about the economy. They're thinking about how things were then, comparing it to the struggles of today and the things that Biden's really falling short on. It's not like Biden under COVID would have been any different, and people still credit Trump with the economy being good, despite the fact that, yeah, it went down under COVID because things had to close. And while more jobs have been added, technically, if Biden wants to talk about that, you have to talk about the fact that even then you're still not at pre-COVID levels and people are struggling. Inflation is higher. That started under Biden. Wages are in the gutter. You're not seeing wage growth. He wants to double the capital gains tax. Do you think that that is a topic that is going to win over voters? I don't understand how anybody in their right mind has an approval rating on the economy below 40%, on the eve of an election, and you think that the strategy that is going to help you out has to deal with, well, I'm going to go out there and talk about how we need to raise taxes. And it's not about getting the wealthy to pay their fair share, as so many people will put it. It's more about just trying to reduce investment. Even these countries that Bernie Sanders points to in Scandinavia, they don't really have a very high capital gains tax, even compared to ours now in many cases. A lot of European countries don't have one. Biden increasing it would just be the dumbest move possible. And the fact that he's touted that, that's a third rail. Raising taxes is a third rail. Just like trying to cut entitlements is a third rail, raising taxes is a third rail. And it's a problem. Now, we're going to talk about the other state polls that were released today, but I did kind of want to touch base on some COPE. Larry Sabato, which is the leader of the Sabato plastic ball, as I like to call it. And again, this is the same group that had Iowa and Utah as toss-ups in 2016. They had Idaho as lean or likely Republican. Idaho, one of the reddest states in the country. And on top of it, they had Ohio as lean Democrat, voted for Trump by over 8 points. These people have been wrong time and time again. And these are the same people that were shouting from the rooftops about how the CNN poll back in 2020 that had Biden up by 16, they weren't saying hold your horses. They weren't saying this is an outlier, which it was. And I was vindicated about the polls in 2020 100% of the way, because they did overestimate Biden and they did underestimate Trump in a lot of places. Wisconsin, nationally, you name it. Who knows what they're doing now? I'm being more cautious. I'm saying they might be overestimating Trump a little bit. But still, I mean, these people are just coping relentlessly. And for the record, I don't think Trump's going to win the popular vote by 6 or 9. I just don't think the math is there. I think he might win the popular vote, and that would be more than enough. But winning it by margins that like Obama won the popular vote by in 2008, that would break a lot of people's brains. I just don't see it really happening, especially as our country is just far too polarized, even compared to back then. But the fact that Donald Trump is not collapsing in polling, like they said, the Biden surge, it's not a surge. It really has not happened. The fact that he's not collapsing and the fact that he's turning a corner in the aggregate, he now leads by 1 point, despite the fact that Biden spent $120 million on the general election campaign. That's a good sign for Donald Trump. Biden's spending $120 million on the general. Trump spent less than half of that. A lot of that was on the primary, which he ended up winning. But it's like, you know, Trump is lagging behind in fundraising. He's catching up, but a lot of the money spent has been on advertisements by Biden. And so far, he's not getting a leg up. Like I've said, I don't believe he can spend his way to popularity. Hillary Clinton couldn't spend her way to popularity. Joe Biden can't either because people have more brain cells than Joe Biden has. And a lot of people who aren't completely brainwashed or will vote blue no matter who, they can understand and see what's going on in this country. And Trump is talking about the issues that matter. He's focusing on things that matter. His campaign staff is competent this time around, and it's paying dividends. But like I've also said, it's not just the popular vote. It's possible Trump could win the popular vote and lose the Electoral College. It's not likely. I don't expect it to happen. But you don't win via the popular vote. And I think it's a very good thing that we have the Electoral College. But what we need to note is that Donald Trump now, because of other polls that have been released, he leads in every single swing state now, including Pennsylvania, the outlier polls out of the mix. And the latest poll that had 1,300 likely voters has Trump up by 1 in the state of Pennsylvania. Michigan, there was a poll that came out where Biden took a narrow lead in the state of Michigan, but Trump still leads in the aggregate altogether. And then Wisconsin, Trump is leading in Wisconsin. Some people will say, why does this Michigan poll have Biden up? They're pushing the undecideds. They're using a likely voter sample. Who knows why? I say throw it in the aggregate. I'm not going to say that these polls don't matter. But for the people that say, well, it's impossible that the CNN poll's right and the YouGov poll's right. It's like, yeah, polling typically contradicts. That's why we have polling aggregates. I don't think Trump's up by 6 nationwide. Biden, is he really up by 2? It doesn't really seem like that's the case either, but this is CBS News's first poll, and this is within the margin of error. So who exactly knows why Biden's leading in Michigan there when he's not leading in these other polls? Does that mean that he's been really, seeing a surge in Michigan? I don't think a lot has exactly happened. You get different samples every time, just like the outlier polls we see in other states. But still, the fact is he's leading in every possible swing state you can lead in. And the Biden campaign, they're saying, oh, this is fine. This is fine. Folks, it's not fine. There needs to be panic. And at this point, the question is, what can Biden really do? And I will say the answer does tend to be, it comes down to turnout. And that's why we need to get out and vote, register voters, and fight like hell. Because you look at the register voter samples and the likely voter samples, usually Republicans in the past, they've done better in the likely voter samples. And now that may not entirely be the case. But what we need to do is make sure that people get out and vote, focus on building the ground game. And if we're able to go out there and do that, I really think that it's going to be very difficult for Donald Trump to lose. But we have to treat this thing like we're a little bit behind. We got to treat this thing like it's a horse race, even if Donald Trump is actually leading by a lot. So we make sure that we bury Joe Biden this November. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Like this video down below, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description down below. And I will see you guys in the next one. Red Eagle, out.